Cal forever here, and something kind of popped up today. I need to find something to prop my. Sorry for the technical difficulties. I gotta find something to prop my phone up. Yeah. So something kind of came up today, or just a thought. Um, and I kind of want to share this story to express it, and hopefully it can help other people. And I guess this kind of relates to being the scapegoat or and the black sheep. So I I moved here to Arizona and I was here for a few months, and then I went back to Nebraska visiting family. And this one day, I stopped drinking when I moved to Arizona. When I went back to Nebraska, since I was around it, I drank a little bit. So I drank a little bit earlier this day, and but and then I sun gazed, and so I had a lot of fire energy, but the alcohol had worn off because it had been hours since I drank. And I was in a healing crisis, and so I was getting triggered a lot. I was a lot of frustration, a lot of confusion, and my family not receiving me and seeing that I was in a difficult situation, or not understanding my situation and trying to control me and thinking that they know what I need to do. And I think me intuitively feeling that too. So I'd get in arguments with my family. There's like one point where it's like, you know, I was pretty much like standing there saying like, I lost my three of my jobs in like 2 months. Like, my life's changing a lot. I like that I've lost my jobs because I'm finally able to come back into myself, and I'm going through this awakening, and it's really beautiful. But like, I want my family to love me and listen to me, and all they did was just sit there and watch fucking football, and then they got mad that I was trying to talk with them. And it's like, oh, but you're coming in all at the wrong time. And it's like, no, I tried to talk to you about this earlier today. I tried to talk with you yesterday about it. It's never a good time for you. You guys don't want to deal with this. You don't want to face any. And it's because they're in shadow, right? They're in their own delusion. And this, started raising my voice, I guess because I was frustrated and I was in a healing crisis. And healing crisis isn't always necessarily bad. It's just like you're in a point in your life where life is like heal, and forcing you to heal and process your emotions. And that's why I lost my jobs. Not because of anything that happened at work, but it was just like that's how life unfolded. I was changing. I didn't like do anything bad at work or anything. Like, one of my jobs, I got fired from it twice in 1 month because like I couldn't go to work because of the energy. And so, yeah, things like that. So I ripped the HDMI cord out of the receiver and threw it at the projection screen, and just like got mad. But anyways, I feel like I'm kind of getting off track. So this other day in particular, I was sun gazing. I drank earlier that day, not very much, and it had worn off because it had been hours since I drank. So I wasn't drunk at the time, and I go into the basement, and my dad and my brother are playing pool at the bar, and they're just wasted, like flat out wasted. And like, I go up behind the bar and to pour myself a drink. I'm thinking like, oh, I sun gazed. The energy's really good right now. I don't drink very much. I feel like I'm in control. And so I'm going to give this to myself. And my brother comes up behind the bar and he's like, you're drunk. And you can't drink. You shouldn't drink or whatever. You're drunk. And I wasn't drunk at all. And I'm thinking like, wow, my brother's totally in shadow because he's wasted. And he's telling himself, you're drunk. He's projecting his drunk self onto me and saying to his projection, like, you're drunk, you can't drink. But when people are in shadow, it's like, they're not seeing that part of themselves. They're just projecting it on others so that they can keep drinking, right? So my brother did that, and I just kind of defended myself. He cornered me in the bar, and I pushed him. And my brother's a big dude. And then I walked around the other side of the bar, and my dad kind of came at me, and I pushed my dad on his ass. And I decided to leave the situation, and I got my camper bus and went to a friend's. And apparently my dad called the police on me. And I'm thinking, like, why did my dad call the police on me? I didn't do anything wrong. I was the victim in that situation. That's my roommate. I was the victim in that situation where I was just trying to do something loving for myself. I wasn't wasted. I wasn't drunk. I wasn't being irresponsible like my brother and my father. And I was just trying to have a drink like a normal human being, and they were attacked. I was attacked essentially, and I decided to stand up for myself and defend myself. And my divine masculine shadow kind of came out and got a little aggressive and pushed my brother, But I was like backed into a corner, and I was like, I didn't know what to do. And I was at that point in my life where I was so passive most of my life, I felt like I needed to stand up for myself, and I'd gotten bullied in school and things like that. And, my family tries to control me, and they scapegoat their mental illness onto me and say that I have mental illness. I'm not mentally ill. I have Tourette syndrome and ADHD and high functioning autism, very slightly, but I see that as my unique neurological wiring. I love being who I am, and that comes with gifts. There's gifts along with that. And, I'm a rainbow child. There's this documentary called Indigo Evolution. But anyways, my dad called the police on me, and I'm thinking, like, what did I do? Why would I get in trouble by the police? Why would the police even want to try to find me? I don't even know what my dad said. Maybe my dad was like, oh, my son's mentally ill and he's insane right now. And it's like, what? I'm not insane. I'm not being insane. I'm in a healing crisis. You want to know why that other person's yelling at you, right? This comes from one of my spiritual teachers. Because that person's in a healing crisis, right? Or you want to know why that person's not talking with you because they're in a healing crisis. Some people shut down. Some people kind of project out, either express or lash out or lash in at themselves. So I woke earlier that day. I got this little sandstone heart from one of the guys that plays the flute on one of the vortexes here in Sedona. And I gave it to my mom, but for some reason earlier that day I decided to put it in my pocket. And after this whole situation, I woke up the next day with the sandstone heart broken. And I'm like, I broke my mom's heart. And, well, I don't blame myself there because I didn't do anything wrong. And I have compassion for my dad because my dad's in his own delusion. I mean, obviously they were in the wrong. When you look at it from that egoic perspective, when you look at it from the soul's perspective, everything's created and unfolding the way that it needs to. But from the ego perspective, my dad was in the wrong, and I was in the right, just trying to defend myself. I was doing something good for myself, and by standing up for myself. And my dad was just in his own delusion, like, oh, there's something wrong with Calvin. My brother was in his own delusion, wasted. They were like slurring their speech drunk, right, and they were stumbling and like they were bad. I was fucking the sober one, like, what? Really? So trying to think of what else to say. I think that pretty much sums it up. Like, being the scapegoat and the black sheep is hard. Oh yeah, another thing I wanted to say, and going back to the Indigo Evolution documentary, I ended up meeting Elijah Ray. I had so synchronistic. I had just this synchronistic, like, experience where I ended up seeing him in concert. I didn't even plan that out from an ego perspective. From my soul's perspective, yes, I was following my heart. But anyways, he was one of the main guys in this documentary, and the documentary was cool because I resonated. I was an indigo child, and I just didn't know. It's like, oh, that's what high functioning autism is. That's what ADHD is. I'm an indigo child. I'm a rainbow child. And one of the things that Elijah says in there is like, if your children are saying they're seeing angels, don't write them off. Don't, it needs to be supported, not, just shoved to the side. And so I was starting to see angels then. I had this vision where I was meditating. And I saw this like person sitting cross-legged, made out of light, giving me a dove, and then like I felt so much peace from it, and I started having these mystical, angelic experiences. And so I figured, since my parents are Christian, it would have been safe to say, "Mom, I'm seeing angels." And I openly just said that to my mom. I'm like, "Mom, I'm seeing angels." Because of the Indigo Evolution documentary. And my dad just, I didn't really fully realize it, even though I was feeling it. Like, my dad had so much fear, so much doubt, and my dad still does, because before I left Nebraska this last like 3 months ago, like, my dad's like, don't get married because you'll get my money, but when I die. And then when he said that, he hugged me. I'm like, Dad, I'm getting married, because that, like, I would pretty much say, like, how dare you say that? Because that's something that I'm really passionate about. Like, I do want to get married someday, you know, like, and like, I'm going to be successful. I have so much potential, and I'm so gifted, and I'm so talented. You just have to give me time to get through my healing process and step into a career. And I've already, I'm already on that way, and I'm doing so good. you know it's not happening the way his ego wants to see it, right? So when he hugged me, it was just like all this depression. It was just this span throughout the next like